feel like there's something behind me. Something, I don't know, like something, it's almost like something following me or something like that. Mountain, mountain. Train the muscles, not the joints. So welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm in Harrison Hot Springs again. One thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is trusting your intuition when it comes down to your training. Now, so many people out there, they don't trust their intuition, they trust studies, they trust information all over the place. And then later on, some of these guys with PhDs and stuff like that are saying, hey, trust your intuition. Why does it mean something when somebody else says it as opposed to me, right? So when I say something, it doesn't mean anything, but when somebody else with letters behind their name, they say it, all of a sudden it means something, right? Stupid. It's honestly really stupid. All right, okay, I got my mocha. Time to have a chat with you guys. Time to have a little bit of a chat about trusting your own intuition about things. Because there's so many times where you're training, and I mean, I get this all the time. Guys are like, hey, I don't know why my elbow's hurting, or my shoulder's hurting, or my knee's hurting, or my back's hurting. I don't know why. I'm doing everything properly. But are you doing everything properly? Are you doing everything properly for you? And that's the question. A lot of times people think they're doing something properly for what they've been told, but that properly has nothing to do with their individual body type. So I know I always talk about the same thing. I always talk about similar things, but I'm just hoping that if I keep on speaking about the same stuff, that at some point it'll hit home for some of you, because we all have those inner fanatics inside us that say, I must do something a certain way. I've had it where, you know, for a long time I thought, okay, I got to squat low, or I got to do this, I got to do that in order to get results. And then of course, every time I did it, I would end up getting pains. So case in point, for me, front bar squats were the worst thing ever. Like if I held the bar in the front, I put so much pressure on my knees. It didn't matter how shallow I went, how deep I went, it would be just disaster for my knees. My knees would just be a mess. So knowing that, of course, I was stubborn. When I was younger, whatever I was training, I was like, okay, I got to keep on trying this, because obviously there's something wrong with me, right? Must be me. I'm the flawed guy. I'm the problem, because that's what everybody says. You're the problem when something doesn't work for you. So I got massage, I got physiotherapy, I go to chiropractors, I go to experts in the field, and then find out what's going on with my body. Why do I have a certain issue? You know, chiropractor, case in point, would be with my lower back and stuff. And I found out later on is, again, I was lifting wrong for me. So when it comes down to these, when it came to front squats, it was all because the way the forces were playing out was not right for my body type. And I found that the force was going directly over the toes. That's where the direction the force was going. So the quads and the knees were taking so much pressure. So when I stopped those, I still gained muscle size. I still gained quadricep size. I didn't need to do them, but I was stubborn. I kept on hitting it over and over again, and of course getting a little bit of inflammation. So the same thing was going on with squats. So you see me on this channel do a lot of high bar squats on this channel. I do like at least medium high bar, not quite low bar, not quite high bar, but I'm doing them quite high, okay? But I found back in the day that high bar squats were murder on my knees. Again, it boils down to the same sort of reason. It's because it forces me to bring the knees more over the toes instead of keep the tension around the hip joint, right? And that's what you want when it comes down to power exercises. In most cases, unless of course you're built a certain way, you know, there's always the individual expression. That's what I'm all about here. So for me, low bar squats were great. I kept a lot of stress off the knees, kept the stress on the muscles, at least the belly, the muscle, on the hamstring as well. And I found that it was a much better squat for me, even though I wasn't going parallel, I wasn't going ass to the grass, but I was doing 90 degrees, and I found it was a better squat for me. So I'm gonna hit that again, because I noticed I started doing a little bit more high bar since I started this channel a few years ago. And I noticed that there was always pressure in my knees, a little bit more pressure than, say, low bar squat. So again, it's like race car driving. You're always honing your technique, honing it to be even more impeccable towards building muscle and not putting pressure on the joints in a destructive way. So I'm gonna do an experiment of doing some low bar squats for a period of time, just for fun, because it's good to vary things up anyway. And this is why I always tell you guys, vary things up. Don't always stick to the same thing, because sometimes you make accidental discoveries about what works better than ever before, even though you were stuck in one way of thinking and saying, oh, I have to keep doing this one exercise because that's what people do. That's what bodybuilders do. That's what, you know, powerlifters do, whatever. I mean, I know a lot of guys that have good leg development that didn't squat. I know a lot of guys that have good chest development that don't bench press, you know, so there's lots of different exercises out there. That's the blessing of being a bodybuilder. That's the advantage, is that you don't have to stick to one exercise or one way of doing something in order to get your result, because the result is what you're after. You're not after showing off or proving to people that you can do what they're telling you to do, like some sort of monkey in the zoo. You're basically just here to make a result happen. However you get that result in your exercise is fine. You don't have to fall for the agendas of other fanatical thinkers. May the forest be with you. Obi-Wan Kenobi is in the building. You should be taking a nap. It would be a better advertisement for the pillows. It's so sad. This is so sad. Violence, man. It's just... The point is, don't be afraid to experiment in your workouts. Don't be afraid to experiment with your exercises, and don't buy into the fact that there is one exercise that is biomechanically perfect and that is the way you have to do it. It's more about designing exercises around your individual biomechanics. That's what's going to give you the best results. So trust your instincts. Trust what your body's telling you. Do what you can as far as stretching. Do what you can as far as rehabilitation, and make sure you take care of any injuries that do exist to the best of your ability. But some injuries cannot be rehabbed. You know, that's the funny thing. Without surgery, you can't reattach a muscle. You can't reattach a joint in a certain way. You can't fix a labrum instantaneously just by doing a little bit of stretching, right? So because of this, also, because there's a lot of different latent sort of things going on in the body, a lot of things that people don't know about, maybe injuries they've had from the past, this will also change what type of exercise form is perfect for you to hit the muscle and not grind the joint into dust. Which is why, you know, I just talked to a guy today, and he's only around 50 years old, and he's got, you know, he's already had 2 hip replacements. You know, both his hips are replaced and his shoulder's a mess. So for me to tell this guy to train exactly the same as somebody else would be absolutely stupid and destructive. So this is why you gotta really pay attention. You have to really pay attention to what's going on in your own body. Aha! Now I caught you. This is one of those times that it's handy to have something to eat, like beef jerky, instead of having to stop for a meal, because the butcher shop closes at 6 and it takes me about an hour to get there. And it's just one of those days, right? Always having to eat on the run sometimes. So yeah, this is where convenient food. So I'm gonna stop by this Legacy Farm Market where they have some beef jerky. No, I was running to get beef jerky the other day at the Legacy Farm Market, and okay. You know, I was on the run and I was expecting to get. That was, huh? Sorry? We were at the Legacy Market. But not on Thursday. So I'm just basically attacking the beef jerky tent here and putting them on film right away with no preparation whatsoever. So this is Island Jerky. This is the jerky I told you about. I actually just had this the other day, and I was running to the Legacy Fair, and they did not have their booth there, and I was in a rush, and I was out of protein, and I need some protein on the go. So this is the best jerky I've had in a long time. That's original flavor with no MSG and stuff. So I really like it. But yeah, I'm gonna get her to just say a couple words about it, and I'm gonna put her on the spot and make her feel extremely uncomfortable on video, because that's just what I do. Why do some of the companies use MSG in their product?
The reason some of the companies use a lot of chemicals, including MSG, is they use old meat, not old meat, but tough meat, and they need all the chemicals in it to get it to the level of tenderness that they think is good, and it's still tough. So we use eye of round, which is very lean, wonderful meat. We slice it really thin, and we don't need to use any of the chemicals that other companies use. We also use natural hickory wood smoke. We don't use liquid smoke. So commercial companies will tend to use a liquid smoke, and they'll dehydrate versus a real heat smoke.
Pretty good. You don't have to eat it like that. It makes me feel more Sasquatchy when I eat like that. Yeah, or more wild, you know, like a mountain. This guy's the best parking attendant in Harrison Hot Springs, because he actually goes into the coffee shop. This only happens in Harrison Hot Springs, okay? He goes in the coffee shop to make sure he's not going to give you a ticket. And if he can't find anything, he'll give you a ticket. So don't park here without paying. But at the same time, he'll actually make an effort to find you. So here he is.
Hey.
How you doing? What's your name?
I'm Keenan.
Keenan, I'm Jason. I live close. So you're doing a great job, man. So you get the hardest job in the world because everybody's mad at you all the time. So
pretty much, yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. So I hope this helps you out with your training. I hope this helps you find the deepest wisdom that is in your own body and in your own experience. And I hope it helps you find your way, your path, the Gallantian path to making big, biggity gains. Biggity gains. Oh yeah, and thanks a lot to the Patreon supporters. And if you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com. You can do it. You can do it. Trying to get the Triceratops Rex wants to do a posing pose off, pose down. Yeah, I know you can't see yourself. Isn't it weird?